Hello, 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 hello. I hope all is well. It's just a moment here as I get things set up here. Just a second. And let me, okay, there we are. I hope all is well. I hope all is well. I was a couple minutes late, but I'm here. It's been a long day. Make sure to like the live, share out. Yeah, it's a little different. So I'm still trying to navigate it all. I'm like playing in StreamYard too, so that way I can figure out a way for me to just stream it all at once at one time. But thank you so much for joining. Make sure to like the video, share it out. If anyone, you feel like anyone can benefit from this live, we'll be doing Scarcity Mindset Part 2 today. So I hope that this is helpful. And just a second here as my screen is acting funky. I may need to put this on. There we go. I had to put my stuff on Do Not Disturb because I got stuff coming through. Oh, it's not letting you like or anything? Okay, yeah, that's fine. No worries. Okay, there we go. For some reason, my screen's all jacked up. So I hope you guys can hear me, see me. Awesome. So Scarcity Mindset Part 2 today. I'm gonna go through 3 new areas just so that way we kind of just address those areas too. I felt like when I was doing my research last time that it has so many like options. Okay, perfect. I ended up having to, it swiped me out and then I swiped back in, so no worries. As I was doing my research on Scarcity Mindset and just trying to make sure that I was covering all bases, I found so many different areas. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't like lax on this topic and come back and talk through a few more areas that I thought were important. So the areas that we covered last week, just in case that this is new for anyone that's on the live, we talked about the scarcity mindset in 3 different areas. So finances, our emotions, and our abilities. So I gave 3 affirmations for all 3 of those areas and kind of talked about the basis of what scarcity mindset is. So if you missed last week, it's still on the channel. So feel free to go back and watch that if you want to get the affirmations for those 3 areas. And if you just want to get a little bit more clarity as far as like what the scarcity mindset is. And this live will be here if you want to get the additional options, the additional areas after watching that. So feel free to go back and watch that. Okay, so let subscribers know when they join, they have to hit the 3 dots on the top right corner to select the like button from the video options. Perfect. Awesome. Thank you. So Kiki put in the comments, okay, so let subscribers know when they join, they can hit the 3 dots on the top right corner and select the like button from the video option. So if you're looking to like while in the live, that's how you do it. Perfect. Thank you. I appreciate you. Awesome. So let's dive into our 3 scarcity mindset areas for this week. So the 3 that I want to focus on is it's 4 a.m. So hit the three dots. There should be three dots. So that way you can go in and like hit the like button, just so that way I get likes on the video as it's on. You can also like pull, if you have a second device, you can also pull it up on a second device, and like it that way, whichever works best for you. Okay, so our three areas of scarcity: career, having a scarcity mindset when it comes to your career; skill, so having a scarcity mindset of when it comes to just your in addition to your abilities, your actual skill set; and then three, time. So thinking about how we feel about scarcity when it comes to our time and how we utilize our time. So there's three affirmations for each area. Feel free to use these affirmations as a basis point. So if you feel like you really have a scarcity mindset in your career or in your skill or in time, you want to enhance and add to these affirmations, change them around, change the language, or adjust them in any way, feel free to do that. It's just basically a stepping stone or a starting point. I probably could, Kiki, just a second. Let me see if it lets me. Yep. There we go. I pinned the message. Perfect. So just this is just a basic point. If you need to change things around or alter them, by all means, go ahead and do so. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. If you want to change or adjust or add an affirmation but not quite sure where to start, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you figure out what to say or what to add to it. So this is definitely a back and forth. It's very interactive, so feel free to ask questions or make comments in the comment section. So for career scarcity mindset, so just to kind of give you a brief overview of what that is. So a career scarcity mindset is feeling that you're limited in job opportunities or fearing of job loss, right? Hesitating to pursue career advancement or education due to a belief in limited opportunities. If you feel like you're lacking in your job or you're not performing well in your job, this is another way that scarcity mindset can come in, where you make decisions based off of, based off of the fact that you're not performing well. If you find yourself on a performance plan, or if you find yourself in, any of those different arenas when it comes to your career, that's where the scarcity mindset can come into, where we're not making the best decisions. And then also viewing colleagues as competitors rather than potential collaborators. Finding ways to compete with people versus competing with yourself and with your own skill set. Those are all ways that your career scarcity mindset can come into play. So I have three. I can't necessarily cover all of the bases with the three, but these are the ones that stuck out the most to me. The first one I actually use myself often. So the first one I actually write on a sticky note and I put it on my laptop, and I keep it there because it reminds me of what I actually really need to make sure that I'm doing, right? So when it comes to my job. So the first one is, my job isn't hard, it just requires strategy. My job isn't hard, it just requires strategy. Sometimes we get in a scarcity mindset because we keep telling ourselves how difficult our job is or how difficult the environment is. Now, granted, a lot of these jobs and environments may be very difficult situations, but if you keep telling yourself that on a daily basis, you wake up and you're dreading to go to work. You wake up and you log in and you're already like, okay, this is going to be a bad day, or this is going to be a frustrating day, or this is going to be a hard day. If we wake up with that mentality, then that's what we're going to continue to have. So starting with, my job isn't hard, it just requires strategy. It forces you to think outside of the box of like, okay, this may be hard or this may be a difficult situation, but how can I strategize to make this a better situation? How can I strategize to make me be more productive or more effective in my role? So, number one, my job isn't hard, it just requires strategy. Number two, I confidently advance in my career by actively cultivating lasting opportunities. I confidently advance in my career by, by actively cultivating lasting opportunities. So we want to cultivate opportunities, but we also want to cultivate opportunities that last, right? Sometimes with our scarcity mindset, we do go scrap for scrap and we just try to find what we can find versus us being proactive before us thinking in advance, before us really taking the time to understand the opportunities that we have versus making sure that versus like us just trying to just scrap and just trying to find something that isn't going to last in the end. So like what is most important here is understanding that we can go ahead and be confident in finding things for our career, but actively cultivating those opportunities. So who are we speaking to? What are the mentors that we have in our lives? Who are we collaborating with? How are we able to advance? What does advancing in your career look like? What are the steps to get there? What progress are you making towards those steps? So thinking outside of the box as far as like how you could advance your career and actually putting a plan together, taking ownership of our careers versus our managers or our bosses having control of our career. Because ultimately, yes, they're who we report to, but at the end of the day, we have control. We have control of where we go. And if we're not able to advance as within our current role or with our current boss or with our current manager, how can I be proactive in thinking outside of the box to cultivate new opportunities for myself? So the scarcity mindset keeps us in that box, right? Keeps us in, I'm in this role and this is all that I have to offer me. Whereas if we step outside of that, we think of other ways for us to make money. Does this mean that we stay in this role and then we start a side hustle? Does this mean that we stay in this role but we look in other departments that we'll be able to advance in? Does that mean that we stay in this role and we go back to school while in this role so that way we can kind of figure out a new way for us to advance? So there's so many different ways that we can cultivate a lasting opportunity that withstands versus us keeping ourselves in a box that makes absolutely no sense. So I hope that that's helpful, especially for anyone that's struggling or feels like you're complacent in your role. I'm a recruiter by trade, so being in that arena, I have these conversations all the time as far as like candidates thinking outside of the box as far as like the types of roles that they go for, or even when I do like resume writing or resume help, having those conversations with people as far as like how you can think outside of the box in your roles that you're looking for. So there's so many different ways that you can go about it, but you're not stuck. You're not stuck. There's something that you can do, but it may not always be prevalent or may not always be in your face to where you actually have to sit and think outside of the box and do some planning and some strategy. So this is just to remind you of that. I confidently advance in my career by actively cultivating lasting opportunities. Number 3, I attract supportive mentors who help me thrive in my position. I attract supportive mentors who help me thrive in my position. The only reason why I put that here is because a lot of times when we get stuck, we just stay stuck instead of asking for help, instead of asking for mentorship, and instead of looking for mentorship. And a lot of times I find, especially when I seek mentors, is that I would have a lot of questions going on in my head, and then I would finally get in touch with a mentor, sometimes delayed and sometimes not. But I would, reach out to that mentor and ask them that question that I've been pondering on for weeks or months even, and they would have an answer right away. And I'm like, dang, I didn't even I didn't even think of that. Like, why didn't I think of that? So this one is to remember that you don't have to think of all of these things on your own, right? You can just basically say, okay, who can I reach out to mentor? Who's in my network that I can actually get help from? Is my manager an actually a great resource? And if not, are there other managers in the department that I can confide in? Now, be that tread lightly with that. But I found in my career that that's actually helped me, because and I'll give you a story. I had again, I'm in recruiting, so I'm metrics driven. So I was having and I'm in tech recruiting, which is a little bit nuanced and can be very difficult at times, depending on the role, because of the fact that it's very specific to the job duties and responsibilities, the coding languages that the people are using, and the different things that they're working on. So I confided in my manager, and thankfully my manager was actually like humble enough to say that they weren't well versed in the issue that I was having. One, because I've actually had been there longer than the manager. So the manager, like the areas of difficulty that I was having, they weren't able to really help me with. So they were like, okay, well, let's see who else we can have help you. And I took it upon myself to just reach out to other managers that I knew would know a little bit more, and was able to come to a solution. With me doing that, it helped me to come to a solution, but then it also helps me to educate my manager in that area. And then it then came to me being able to trust her and her trust me. And about 3 months later, I ended up getting a promotion because of it. So it's like, that's a great scenario. It doesn't necessarily work that way for everything, but there's ways that you can get help or find mentorship quickly versus it being like, don't think of it as a long drawn out process. There's people around you that you can tap into, especially at work. What would you recommend we do if we're in an environment that has changed to a new culture that's more productivity based rather than goal outcome based? So productivity based versus goal outcome based, is that just basically you have like daily metrics instead of it being like a monthly or like a quarterly metrics? Meaning now they're driving activity to control a typically relational role. So I would say, depending on, do you think the metrics that they're giving you is obtainable? Or do you think it's like not obtainable? I think that's the biggest question. Daily and monthly for the year goal. Do they seem like reasonable goals though? Believe me, I've been there. Where they've jumped back and forth between a bunch of different goals. They're unrealistic. So let me ask this. When it comes to the management team, is there a conversation surrounding their goals? Or are they just basically like, this is what it is and that's it? Based on the history day to day of the role. Okay. I would say, and this is just from my own experience, being in a metric-based role, and I've been in a lot of different metrics-based roles. Most of my roles throughout my 17-year career, I would say like 80% of them were metrics-based. And I would say that if there is, read both comments. They are unrealistic based on the history day to day of the role. Got you. So I would say, so there could be several different ways as why they did it, and I don't know what your position is at all. But COVID messed a lot of things up for a lot of companies to where they are being they're very tight with money. And this is across the board. When I look at the numbers, just as far as like hiring and the hiring in general, whether it be within the tech industry or not, hiring has went down and layoffs have gone up. So yeah, feel free to email me. Yeah. But just to kind of give an overview for everyone. So when it comes to just like careers in companies and jobs in general, just the current climate, the climate of the workforce right now is very unstable. So for the tech industry, I can talk about the tech industry, but I feel like it's the same across the board. Unless like you're in healthcare or anything like that, because that's still very much a need. Unless you're in like a need-based role, like teachers, like like that's probably not an issue because there are always in need of like teachers or like first responders or medical nurses, all of that stuff. So it may not be the same there. But when I'm thinking about just the corporate environment right now, layoffs have gone up and roles have gone down. So when that happens in the marketplace, and I'm just talking from a recruiter's mindset now, when that happens in the marketplace, the companies are going to pull back on everything, not just money, but then they're also going to tighten up on metrics, right? So if there is something that they currently are not following or not keeping tabs on as far as like metrics or KPIs, they're going to start implementing things, and that's going to be their way of getting out of layoffs. So what they'll do is they'll increase the requirements of the role and your metrics and KPIs, so that way they can put people on performance plans and have a justification of letting people go versus them actually doing a layoff and paying everybody severance packages and paying out unemployment. So if they fire you because of performance, now they don't have to pay you unemployment. They don't have to worry about doing any type of severance packages. They don't have to worry about continuing to pay any type of like insurance or anything like that after the person leaves the job. So they're going to do a mixture of yeah. So I'm giving y'all game right now because this is, as being in HR, this is what they do. So instead of them doing the right thing and laying off people and giving severance packages, not to say companies don't do that, but a lot of times they try to avoid that. So they're going to up your metrics, they're going to up your KPI, they're going to up your requirements for your performance plans, they're going to do things like that. And sometimes they'll do it in addition to a layoff, or they'll do it so that way they don't have to do a layoff at all. So a lot of times when those changes happen, just understand that a lot of times it's an HR move versus it being a productivity move, if that makes sense. But yeah, Kiki, feel free to message me if you want, like if you have like a question specific to your role. I could give you a little bit more insight, but that's what I'm seeing in the marketplace even as of now. Like, because I'm in recruiting's always usually first to go with layoffs. So I was laid off about a year ago and have been working contracts since then, because recruiting jobs, especially in the tech industry, are very few and far in between. And because of all of these tech companies laying off, I was at a very large tech company. But in addition to that tech company, there were Google layoffs, there were Pinterest layoffs, there were, and I was with a social media giant. So when it comes to all the social media companies, they all were laying off. So me trying to find something else outside of TikTok, because they're the only ones making money right now. Outside of TikTok, there wasn't any other roles that I could join. Microsoft was laying off. Who else? Salesforce. All of the major companies that I would apply to would either pause roles or just didn't have any roles available. Netflix, they usually always have roles open. Nothing, nada. So yeah, Way to make me more scarcity in the mindset. Nah, it's also true. This happened at an advertisement company I worked with during COVID. Yeah, I mean, anything that has to, and it's always going to be roles that um are that are going to make money but are easily replaceable. So recruiters, salespeople, marketers, advertisers, anything that has to do with like that's associated with like social media or anything like that. Like those are going to be the ones that are going to have the most difficulties during these times. Are you ready to share what new work you're going to do? I think you're going to go all in with meditation coaching, but that's just me guessing. So, I do have a lot in the works in the background. I'm not ready to announce it yet. I don't want to jinx anything. But yes, I do have a lot going on as far as like what I'm going to do next, cuz it's looking real bleak out here in the tech industry. Even though things are kind of picking up a little bit, um, I don't foresee that being my end result. But yes, I have a lot of things in the works and I will let you guys know. I'll announce it when I'm ready. Yes, yeah, non-essential roles. Exactly, exactly. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna go into the next phase, which is the skill scarcity mindset. We talked about career. So just to kind of go back through, career scarcity mindset is my job isn't hard, it just requires strategy. I confidently advance in my career by actively cultivating lasting opportunities. I attract supportive mentors who help me thrive in my position. So those are the three for career. For skill scarcity mindset, so I know we kind of talked about the abilities one last week, but this one I wanted to be a little bit more strategic as far as like the affirmations that we use for this one. So for skill scarcity, it just means, feeling inadequate or unqualified in comparison to others, avoiding like learning new skills due to the belief that it's too difficult or that success is unlikely, or hoarding knowledge or keeping knowledge instead of sharing it in fear of being surpassed. So those are all like scarcity mindsets when it comes to skill set that we don't necessarily think of, but can hold us back if we are operating in that way. Even when it comes to karma or just how we give things out that come back to us, the more that we give, the more that comes back to us. And that's not just with money, that's also with knowledge. So the first one for skill scarcity I have is I acknowledge my unique strengths and talents, understanding that self-doubt only hinders my progress. I acknowledge my unique strengths and talents, understanding that self-doubt only hinders my progress. A lot of times we think about our strengths and our talents and then we automatically undercut them with self-doubt, or we automatically cancel ourselves out. Um, and that's where the scarcity mindset is coming in. You'll say, "Oh, I have this wonderful trait, or I have this wonderful skill, or this wonderful strength." But then we'll say, "Oh, but it doesn't necessarily fit into this," or this is actually a saturated market, so why would I even go that way? Or we will say like, "Oh, this talent works in this, but because I don't have this type of experience, then that means that I shouldn't do it at all." So that's where the scarcity mindset comes into play. And it easily happens because, again, going back to our mindsets and our thought processes that we talked about before, where your brain is just basically weighing all the options, which is what it's supposed to do. So essentially it's working the way that it's supposed to work. But if we're going based off of our own traumas and our own experiences, that's where our thoughts are coming from. So if we're coming from a space of scarcity, sometimes our thoughts and our rationalization may be slightly off because of the fact that our brains are pulling from our trauma, right? So in order to fight that, we have to combat that with challenging and being curious about our thoughts. So this one is just to acknowledge our unique strengths and talents and that they're there, right? But then also understanding that self-doubt will only hinder the process. So when self-doubt creeps in, we have to challenge it. We have to challenge that doubt. Like, is this really a valid point as to why I shouldn't do this? Or is this just my trauma talking? Is this my trauma speaking to my brain, generating self-doubt to the point where I'm even just plateauing because I'm afraid to move forward based off of this mindset? So I acknowledge my unique strengths and talents, understanding that self-doubt only hinders my progress. And you can replace self-doubt with whatever you want to replace it with. If you need to replace self-doubt with anxiety or fear or anything along those lines, or depression fits in there too. If you want to replace that word with whatever, or if you want to make multiple of the same and just replace the word for each one, feel free to do that as well. But I feel like that's important for us to make sure that we continue to acknowledge our strengths rather than continuing to acknowledge our doubts. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, I embrace the challenge of learning new skills, knowing that growth flows from it. I embrace the challenge of learning new skills, knowing that growth flows from it. So I put this one here because sometimes we have the scarcity mindset of it's challenging or it's hard, so I'm not going to do it. And that's what we do to justify us not moving forward, or us not trying, or us not going for a new skill or trait. And that can't be the reason. It just being too hard should never be a justification as to why we don't go for something new or go for what we want. Because if we do that, then we're going to stay complacent. There's so many areas of my life that I'm like, okay, if I just had some additional knowledge in this area, I would be so much better off. But if I look at the knowledge base that I'm going to need, oh, that's going to be hard. So I'm not going to do it. And that keeps us complacent. That keeps us in our space, and that keeps us in our scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset, I think people a lot of times think of it as just being money or financial. It's so much more than that. We can be scarce in just our confidence. We can be scarce in just like our skill set or our knowledge base. It's so much more than just money. So thinking of it again outside of the box of where in my life am I scarce? Where in my life do I procrastinate? Where in my life do I hold back or tell myself no? Some areas it may be a valid no, but other areas it may not. Just rethinking of where am I telling myself no? Am I telling myself no in my career? Am I telling myself no in my finances? Am I telling myself no in my abilities? Am I telling myself no in my relationships? Am I telling myself no in my spirituality? Where am I telling myself no that's preventing me from catapulting myself forward? So that's what that is a reminder of. I embrace the challenge in learning new skills, knowing that growth flows from it. If you fall, it's okay. You're learning, right? If you mess up or make a mistake, it's okay because you're learning. I tell my kids all the time. They're Gen Zers, and they get so caught up in being embarrassed. So they don't do things because they feel like it's going to be embarrassing or it's going to be cringy or whatever. Why? What's the worst that can happen with embarrassment? The worst that can happen is that you feel the embarrassment, it feels awful, and then eventually it goes. So if you want to prevent yourself from being embarrassed, and that's why you're not going to move forward, what really can happen? Like being embarrassed sucks. I get it. But what really can happen if you think about it outside of you just feeling the embarrassment? So thinking about really thinking logically and lucidly about what actually could happen if you actually go for it. And is it really that bad? You know what I mean? So that was number 2. I embrace the challenge of learning new skills, knowing that growth flows from it. Number 3, I understand that true knowledge comes from sharing it, and my knowledge base will empower others. I understand that true knowledge comes from sharing it, and my knowledge base will empower others. Sometimes we have a scarcity mindset to the point where we do gain knowledge and we do gain more skills and we do gain and learn new things, but then we hoard it because we're afraid of the next person excelling at it, or we're afraid of the next person surpassing us or doing better than us. But you have to understand, with you sharing your knowledge, that's when you're actually able to effectively share knowledge, that's a learning base for you. That means that, oh, I could actually sit and share this information with someone. This is a new skill set that I learned, and I'm actually able to share this with someone without any notes, without even looking down at a paper or looking something up. That means for me, I've actually learned this skill and I'm better for it. And now I'm empowering others. I'm bearing fruit to others to help them. And through me bearing that fruit and by me sharing that information and by me helping someone else, that karma is going to come back to me, where someone's going to help me. Someone's going to share information with me. Someone's going to mentor me. So the more that you give, the more that you receive. That's not just monetary. That's also our knowledge base. So if you're growing in your skill set, you're learning in your skill set, and someone comes to you and needs that help. Now, granted, people may use that information and try to. I've seen it myself, even on the meditation front, where people have come to me and confided with me on a skill set when it comes to meditation, and then I see it on their Instagram a couple of weeks later. Hey, that just means that I know what I'm doing. But nobody can do it like me the way that I do it. They have to do it like them the way that they do it. You know what I mean? So yeah, does that happen? Yeah, but at the end of the day, you gave out information. That means that information, that mentorship, that sharing, that knowledge base will circle back to you. As long as you're doing it with the kindness of your heart, who cares what they do with it? So I understand that true knowledge comes from sharing it, and my knowledge base will empower others. So yeah. So it just, I mean, yes, we do need more motivational speakers on their age, because they killing me. They killing me. I'm not even gonna say that. They're doing it right now. So I hope that's helpful on the skill set scarcity mindset. I'll go back through the three. The first one was, I acknowledge my unique strengths and talents, understanding that self-doubt only hinders my progress. 2 was, I embrace the challenge of learning new skills, knowing that growth flows from it. Number 3, I understand that true knowledge comes from sharing, and my knowledge base will empower others. Lastly, time scarcity. So time scarcity is always feeling rushed and believing there is never enough time in a day. Reluctance to delegate tasks because of a fear that others won't meet expectations. Constantly overcommitting due to a fear of missing out or being left behind. Okay, so that's just an overview of time scarcity mindset. Number 1, I trust in my ability to manage my time, knowing that there is always enough time to accomplish what truly matters. I trust in my ability to manage my time, knowing that there is always enough time to accomplish what truly matters. A lot of times we run out of time because we're spending our time doing busy work instead of being proactive and staying on task. And I say this with so much force because I'm saying it to myself. I'm saying it to myself, okay? A lot of times we run out of time because we're not doing a good job at prioritizing. We're not doing a good job at, picking and selecting on what's happening. We're spending time on busy stuff, on things that are just busy work rather than actual tasks. We're spending a lot of time planning and strategizing versus just getting it done. So there's a lot of things that go into that, but just taking the time to really truly think about how you're spending your time. One thing that's a great exercise to do that I actually have people do in my classes, depending on the topic, is to check your screen time. Look at your screen time on your phone or on your tablet or whatever, and see how much time you're spending on social media. See how much time that you're spending, in different apps. See how much time that you're spending just on your phone in general, right? Now, granted, you're on your phone on YouTube watching me live. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Keep that part. But when it comes to other areas, like really think about how you're spending your time day to day, and figuring out ways for you to be able to accomplish your tasks more efficiently. For me, it's to-do lists, right? Giving myself a to-do list and having something that I can actually physically check off makes so much more of a difference than me just trying to go for the day all willy-nilly and not really planning out my day. At the end of my day, if I had a lot of tasks that I didn't get done that I'm frustrated by, I write it on a list to say, okay, this is what I need to do tomorrow. So that way I can sleep at night and I'm not stressed thinking about all of the things that I need to do. As long as I take the time to write it on a list for the next day, at least I know that it will be handled the next day, and I can spend the night just relaxing and trying to digest what happened through the day. So just thinking of different ways that you can manage your time in a better and more effective way. A lot of times we don't necessarily just need more time. We just got to manage our time better. It helps. You got to go off of like what works best for you and what motivates you to get things done. If you're a huge procrastinator, the only way, and I was one, so by all means, no judgment. I was a huge procrastinator, and sometimes I catch myself now. But you got to understand, procrastination is just a response to trauma. Procrastination is just a response to something that you don't want to mentally have to deal with. So you push it off and you push it off. So giving yourself smaller tasks within that task so that way you can get it done. Doing the easy parts of that task first, so that way it gives you more motivation to handle the harder tasks within that task. So just thinking about where your struggle suits are when it comes to time, whether you're a procrastinator, whether you just don't organize the time well, thinking about what your weaknesses are and ways that you can do those things better. And if there's any of those areas that you're really having a tough time on, drop them in the comments and I can figure out how I can do like a live on it so we can talk about it. But we have to do better at when it comes to time management, because of the fact that that's how we get our time scarcity mindset going, and then it's hard to come back from that. So baby stepping, yes, I love that. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Awesome. So so that's that one. I really hope that helps. And like I said, if you need any more like mindfulness tips or ways to navigate your day, let me know. As someone who has some ADHD symptoms, when it comes to time management, I feel like I've actually really figured out what works best for me and how to manage it. So I have a lot of like tips as far as like time management. So definitely let me know if you need additional guidance on that. I'll be more than happy to give you tips. Number 2, I release the need to control and embrace the option of delegation when needed. I release the need to control and embrace the option of delegation when needed. Sometimes we don't need more time. We just need to know when to ask for help. That's it. A lot of times we're feeling like we're having that scarcity mindset because we're trying to do everything within ourselves versus us delegating things to other people that can help, especially for the people that are in our lives that want to help. There's people in our lives that want to help, but we don't allow them to because of our own mindsets and our own sense of control. And if we release that control just a little bit and delegate where it's needed, that would relieve us of some of the time to get the things done that really need to get done and to prioritize the things that we really need to get done. But if we continue to operate the way that we're operating, the scarcity mindset when it comes to time is going to continue. My future question for a community post discussion is, how do we talk to our boss about our needs? Yeah. And it's like, for me, that's easy. But for others, and especially with the environments, like, it depends on the environment, because I've had some very awful managers where having a conversation is just not an option. And I feel like we also, depending on age and generation, we get stuck in the fact that I want to stay at a company for a certain period of time. And I want to stay in this role within a certain period of time. But the market is different from where it may have been about 10 to 15 years ago. And we can't be afraid to leave these jobs. Like, if we drop dead tomorrow and, they need to fill that role, they're going to fill that role. So we have such a loyalty to our job to the point where it's like, oh, I have to stay, or I have no other options, or I have no other choice. I need my job. I need to stay. There are options, and options is LinkedIn and Indeed. Those are the options. And the realm of culture I talked about earlier, metrics. Yeah, read all comments about. Okay, we can't be afraid. Yes, we can't be afraid to leave our jobs. We can't. Yeah, we can't be afraid. But yeah, we can definitely have a discussion about like, how do we talk to our bosses, or how do we communicate our needs in general, because it's not even just our bosses, it's just in general being able to communicate our needs. And we can definitely talk about that. Yeah, so I think we can't be afraid to leave these companies, but also we have to, like, just do our due diligence and making sure that we're communicating our needs. So we can always talk about ID or needs. Yeah, of course. You're welcome. Yeah, like I said, I'll write down, actually. We'll do a live on communicating our needs. Affirmations on communicating our needs. But because I feel like communicating our needs is the same regardless of whether you're talking to your manager or talking to a friend, talking to a family member. I feel like it's all the same. ID our needs? What do you mean? Am I missing something? Identify. Ah. Got it. Okay. I mean, I feel like when communicating our needs to people, identification is the first step anyway. Acknowledging and identifying what the needs are the first step anyway. So yeah, I'm gonna put that together. Communicating and identifying our needs. Gotcha. Awesome. All right, so then where were we at? We were at, I release the need to control and embrace the option of delegation when needed. Sometimes we don't need more time, we just need to know when to ask for help. So yes, so understanding when we need to ask for help is how we can get out of the time scarcity mindset. A lot of times we're putting so much effort in things that we're trying to fix or to do that isn't meant for us or should be delegated. Or should just be left alone altogether, because sometimes we invest ourselves into things that don't mean anything, you know what I mean? And we waste our time and then end up running out of time on the things that we do need, or we do need access to or need to do. So keep that in mind for that one. And last but not least, number 3, I prioritize my commitments wisely, trusting that I am creating space for what's most important. I prioritize my commitments wisely, trusting that I'm creating space for what's most important. And that just to piggyback off of number 2, sometimes we're just prioritizing the wrong things. And because we're prioritizing the wrong things, that time scarcity mindset comes into play because of the fact that we're losing time on nonsense. Okay? So, and that's not even necessarily mean that we can't have relaxation, that we can't have time to just like decompress and to come to bring ourselves back together. Because I'm a game person. I like to sit and play little games on my phone or whatever. So there's that. But we also want to make sure that even in that we still make sure that we are prioritizing the right things, so that way we have time for relaxation. Building relaxation into our schedules is even something that is important, because if we don't build it in, it gets lost, and then we end up finding ourselves more frustrated than we would have been if we just added 15 minutes of decompression, or a 10-minute walk, or added in just a quick bike ride, or added in time for us to just not do anything. Sometimes I just want 10 minutes to just lay and do nothing. Just look at the ceiling. So however you need to do that, or however you need to build that in, but that's really important. And having relaxation time be just as important as the actual tasks that we have to make and have to do. So yeah, that's number 3 under time scarcity. I go back to the top. So number 1 was, I trust in my ability to manage my time, knowing that there is always enough time to accomplish what truly matters. Number 2, I release the need to control and embrace the option of delegation when needed. And number 3, I prioritize my commitments wisely, trusting that I am creating space for what's most important. I hope this was helpful, y'all. I know that scarcity mindset is a whole beast in itself. So that's why I did spend, 2 sessions on it, because I do think it's very important, especially when it comes to just defining it. So I hope that this was helpful. You all be blessed today. You should see a new meditation posted on Wednesday with the new schedule. It's probably not going to be a scarcity mindset option, because the scarcity mindset meditation was last week. So make sure to check that out if you want to make sure that you use a scarcity mindset meditation. But yeah, I hope this is helpful. If there's any other questions, definitely let me know. If you haven't already, grab my book, y'all. It's on Amazon. It's called Nah Self, Let Me Be Great. It's a inspiration and workbook. So it talks about my experiences with self-doubt, but then it also has affirmations in here. So let me see. It also has affirmations in here that you can have. And then it also has a workbook section to kind of talk through the different things that we're talking about. So each area is, again, about self-doubt. But just to kind of give you like insight as to like what the actual contents are. So chapter 1 is stop doubting yourself. Number 2 was reflect on your past self. Number 3 is get to know yourself. 4 is be real with yourself. And again, it's me, y'all, so it's extra. So it's stop doubting yourself, reflect on your past self, get to know yourself, be real with yourself. That's number 4. And then number 5 is forgive for yourself, accept yourself, love on yourself, and trust yourself. It's the last uh, chapter. And each, like I said, each section has an affirmation and a workbook section. And there's also an additional journal that you can get with it as well. So go to Amazon, type in nah. If you type in nah self, it should come up. But I have to, people keep getting on me. I got to get better about talking about my book. So I'm going to be a good girl and do that. If you have any questions about the book, let me know. Thank you. Shoot over to Amazon. And if you have any questions about the book, let me know. If you wanted me to answer questions more before you purchase the book, definitely let me know. But I hope that it's helpful. I hope that's a blessing to you. And if you are dealing with self-doubt, it talks about my own personal experiences. So feel free to read through, even if it's just to be nosy. Be nosy. I don't care. But I really want it to be helpful. You can get it physically, or you can get it via ebook or hard copy. It is available in the UK. You should be able to buy it on the UK website for Amazon. So yes, you should be able to search it the same way. If you have any issues, though, let me know, because I have a bunch of these here. If worst case scenario, I can always mail you one if you want one. But you shouldn't. I allowed it for UK, so it should have the UK option. But yeah, so you guys have a great rest of your night. Definitely check out the book. And then I will see you all next Monday. I will most likely do, since it's the week of Valentine's Day, it's going to be love inspired, whether it be self-love, or something along those lines, self-compassion. I want to just dive into that for the sake of the week. But I think maybe we can follow up after that with communicating our needs. I think that's a good one to follow up on. So y'all have a great rest of your night. Love and peace and gratitude to you all. I thank you all for joining me. You have a great rest of your night, and I will see you soon.